Welcome back to Truth Exposed Radio on this May 23rd, 2012 edition, the Occupy Bilderberg special transmission. Aaron Dykes is our guest. He just got off the line, and we have a great guest coming up for you this next half hour. This is the most uncensored show on the internet. This is one of my favorite shows. I love the show. I got to keep it clean, and I love to watch this Adam versus the Man show because I love hearing this. And this is the man that was arrested for dancing. And if you have not heard of Adam versus the Man, Adam Kokesh, and you think I'm exaggerating that he was arrested for dancing, look it up on YouTube and definitely check out Adam versus the Man. And right now we have Adam Kokesh live on Truth Exposed Radio. Adam, thanks for coming on, brother.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And really, as profane as I'm allowed to be on the interwebs, there is nothing more profane than being arrested and body slammed by a cop for dancing.
Exactly. When I tell people that, I said, you know what? If Thomas Jefferson himself could see this, he would be so pissed off right now. He would start shanking those park police. I'm almost certain of it.
Well, we were really hoping that at some point that giant bronze statue of him would come to life and shoot lasers out of his eyes as the cops, but it didn't happen. So,
yeah, like I told a Family Guy scene, like he just comes alive. He's like, "Oh, park police! Oh, yeah, that'd have been awesome."
Exactly.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got you on tonight because, we wanted to break down, first of all, you've been doing a lot of great work in the alternative news. The alternative news is totally on the rise. I mean, I'm sure you would agree. 2012, what do you think? 2012, this is like the year of alternative news rising. What do you think, man?
I don't know if I would even see it in that arbitrary time frame of the year 2012. This is really just a continuous process of the evolution of human communication, the development of the hive mind, and pulling people out of the matrix that has been created for us by the mainstream media, by the establishment news, by the political system. So it's just really exciting time to be in the exact genre that I am doing what I do. I do an hour-a-day podcast. I do a YouTube channel, and we're getting into a 20-minute nightly newscast starting in about 3 weeks here. So really exciting things and that I'm able to expand. I just got picked up by a YouTube partner network. So unfortunately, I have to admit, I've sold out completely now. I have ads on my YouTube channel, but we have an opportunity here to really promote the message and bring it to them.
It's okay, Adam. I do the same thing. Funkmaster 5, we got our partnership, and we have sold out to the man. But, we got to turn that ad rev into arrows and fling them right back at him. Don't you agree?
Well, the best part about it is it's all based on the intellectual property model. I don't know where you guys are on this, because it's not the easiest topic to wrap your head around, even for a libertarian. But when you really accept the philosophy of the revolution of libertarianism, of voluntarism, of anarcho-capitalism, and you understand that it's morally wrong to use the government or use force in any way to stop or impede the free flow of ideas or the transmission of information in any form for any excuse whatsoever, then, you realize that the entire foundation of modern communications, maybe not the entire foundation, but one of the major underpinnings and one of the major mechanisms of control and also of concentration of economic power when you look at patents and pharmaceuticals and all the technology involved. The entire concept, the entire structure of intellectual property is a freaking scam. It flies in the face directly of the concept of real property. And we get to talk about that on the internet in a way that people in the mainstream never would, because it would be the most direct threat to the business models of all of these mainstream media enterprises. But one of the coolest things for me about watching the shift happen is that as much as people are embracing it, what they're being forced to do reluctantly is shed this old paradigm of intellectual property. And it's kind of cool to watch it slowly fade.
Well, hey, Adam, this is Matthew Medina. I got to get your take on this because every week I'm always covering technology news, the internet news, and I'm big into file sharing, and I'm always sharing and speaking about file sharing news articles and keeping up with that. And, file sharing is, especially peer-to-peer and the drop bucket model, are really setting records for sharing of really high data information, regardless of copyright or not. So this is something they essentially want to shut down just from that. So I just want to get on your take on file sharing and our previous guest, Aaron Dykes of Infowars.com, we were just starting to get into the technocrats that are attending Bilderberg and they're capitalizing of the internet and its model. And for example, you have the PayPal co-founder who's investing in Ron Paul is a Bilderberg attendee, Peter Tai, and so that connection there with the internet, is really a key model, and things like file sharing represent a quick method of downloading high amounts of data. So I want to get your take, because we're talking about copyright, and it goes right into the copyright battle, which is also essentially a battle of free speech and sharing information. I just want to get your take on that. Adam Kokesh, AdamVersusTheMan.com.
Thanks, man. Well, I really appreciate that. And I think what you mean by file sharing is all the covert ways that people find ways around copyright law and around these restrictions on distribution. It's just a sad feature of the modern system that you have this black market for data. That's what it is. It's a black market for data, and it's the same as the black market for drugs. What do you get as a result? You drive a sector of the economy that what should be part of the healthy, natural, free market underground. You create criminals out of people acting peacefully, and you restrict the flow of goods and services in the market. You make it harder for people to actually create sustainable free market models that are not based on this scam of intellectual property. And what we would have, none of it would be necessary if we didn't have this sick, twisted concept. And there are two important things that the founders got very, very wrong in the Constitution. And I would argue that as bad as slavery was, the institution of intellectual property in the Constitution in Article 1, Section 8 has been more damaging over time for holding back the progress of humanity than even slavery was. But it at least a very, very close second in terms of the negative impact on the country today because of the way that it has prevented, economic progress, the way that it has prevented technological progress, mechanical progress. I mean, all the things that have been stifled because we've had this idea that you can own an idea, this perverted concept. But I did a whole rant on this when I had my YouTube channel got restricted about a month ago, and I couldn't upload any videos over 15 minutes. And it was just for a little while, and then there was a glitch with YouTube, which made me extra pissed off and motivated to do something about it. And then on my podcast, I went on a 45-minute rant calling out YouTube for their hypocrisy with their ridiculous community guidelines and the way that they handle intellectual property. And, I don't like to...
Well, they are the Google NSA monster.
Yeah, and I don't like to rag on these corporations, and I did a whole piece today on Google and antitrust and Microsoft and all that, because they really are products of the environment. When you have a paradigm that says government needs to protect intellectual property and government needs to protect us from businesses getting too big, well, what you've basically done is created that monster in government, that group of men with guns that can be manipulated by money and lobbyists and lawyers. And so the corporations that actually take advantage of that are going to have a competitive advantage over those that don't. So the ones that rise to the top are going to be the ones that take advantage of the violence of government to give them a competitive edge in the market. And that's what's so sad. But I started a Facebook group to do something about this because I actually wrote an amendment to the Constitution, a proposed amendment, and I really should read it to you guys and give it to you word for word here. So it's called the Information Freedom Amendment, and it provides a legal, constitutional way to get us around this or to solve this problem if we can get enough consensus on it. And what I said is, if I get 100,000 likes on my Facebook page, then we'll actually start pushing this and take this to Congress. But I did this, like I said, about a month ago. And as of now, there are exactly 93 likes. So this might be an idea slightly ahead of its time, but if I may, I'd like to read this.
Hey, what's the page one more time? We'll throw it out there on all our pages we own.
You think with the copy meism movement, there'd be a little more enthusiasm for ideas like this that actually stand not a chance necessarily immediately, but provide a mechanism at least for making real political change and progress on the issue of intellectual property. So the Facebook page is the Information Freedom Amendment, and it goes like this. Section 1, The first article of amendment to the Constitution of the United States shall take precedence over all previous articles. Section 2. Therefore, the powers granted to Congress in Article 1, Section 8 by the specific language, quote, promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries, are hereby revoked. Section 3, Congress shall make no law abridging freedom of information, and all laws passed by Congress to exercise control over so-called intellectual property are hereby null and void. Section 4, the right of citizens of the United States to copy, repost, and reuse information as they see fit shall not be denied or abridged by the United States of by any state on the basis of the content of that information, nor any claim of exclusivity. Section 5, Congress shall take...
We're coming up on our break. I think you're right, Adam. This is ahead of its time. TruthExposedRadio.com with Adam Kokesh. Adam...
You are listening to Truth Exposed Radio, special Occupy Bilderberg broadcast. This is May 23rd, 2012. We have special guest Adam Kokesh from Adam vs. the Man. Check out his YouTube channel. YouTube search Adam vs. the Man. Adam?
Yeah, back to the Information Freedom Amendment. There's two more sections here. I know this is a little esoteric, a little abstract, but I'm really excited that at least it exists now. There is an amendment to the Constitution proposed, if only on the interwebs, to abolish the very scam of intellectual property that is so holding back the Internet. Section 5 reads, the Congress shall take appropriate measures to ensure that freedom of information for citizens of the United States will not be infringed by laws originating in foreign nations or from international agreements, which is kind of cool because then we create like an intellectual property free zone where the rest of the world can suffer with their government scams, but the United States will be sort of divorced from the trade agreements that keep that going as an international scam. And then Section 6 has a boilerplate thing to throw it on at the end. Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. As an anarcho-capitalist, as much as it pained me to write that sentence, obviously it would be necessary in this process of extricating ourselves from the scam of intellectual property.
Yeah, totally. Listen, I just shared the page, the Information Freedom Amendment. You said you got 93 likes. We got 94. Yep. Let's go ahead. Everybody check it out right now. Truth Exposed Radio page.
Excellent. This could be the spark. It could be the Truth Exposed bump that launches the debate for the Information Freedom Amendment and gets this going mainstream.
Well, hey, we do have a great activist following. You know, a lot of the listeners, they hear us on 90.1 FM in Austin, Texas, which is a hotbed for activism. You know, a lot of people listen to our show there. We always get positive response, not only from there, but also the internet and all the great activist videos that are put out there and the people we speak with. And CJ Gore and Funkmaster 5 are saying something over here. What's up, brothers?
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely share this page on Occupy Bilderberg because this is definitely growing. I mean,
you're talking about the Information Freedom page. Correct?
Yes, we're definitely going to share that because, you know, Bilderberg is definitely, you know, when you come to intellectual property, I mean, lately, in the last few years, Bilderberg has definitely had Sean Parker and the Google CEO. And, you know, Bilderberg is basically the platform that they set up. They're slingshotting everything. And, you know, that's what's going on. And Funkmaster 5, you know, he does a lot of info jamming and...
You can't rely on the mainstream anymore. You have to really be diligent.
Exactly.
You know, and yeah, Funkmaster 5 calls into national radio shows for the last 3 years, and his videos have hundreds of thousands of views. Funkmaster 5, you know, you've been calling all these shows talking about, like, what we're speaking about, and did you...
Well, you know, I started out on the right side. Oh, well, I was going to mention, you know, you mentioned Austin. We're also broadcasting in OKC, Oklahoma City.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I knew you wanted to say something. But, hey, Adam Kokesh, you know, we're speaking about the Bilderberg Group and its influence on our modern information sharing venue, the Internet. Like, you're a great amendment that we just shared on the Truth Exposed Radio Facebook page that we really need to get a lot of people to support. And I think, you know, hey, Adam, you know what? I give you some tips and some advice. I think this is something that could blow up on Reddit because I'm working with the test pack. I'm working with the test pack, brother, from Reddit.com. And they're the ones, they just put up a billboard in front of Lamar Smith's office here in San Antonio, Texas, paid for by the Internet. And I'm one of their activist go-to guys here in San Antonio. I'm trying to work with everybody, brother. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to info jam the mainstream, and that's why I'm filling your amendment. And speaking on that, you know, elitists, the top of the spear, the super class of our world of reality is meeting. Of course, at the end of this month, you said you're going to be there for the first day of the Bilderberg group. I want to get your take, Adam Kokesh, AdamVersusTheMan.com. Your take on the Bilderberg group and what you hope to uncover there on your first day of coverage for the.
Well, yeah, it's funny that we go from intellectual property to that. I'm glad that you're able to make that connection because it really makes the scam of intellectual property clear when they use the excuse, oh, but this is to protect the little guys and the inventors and to protect the authors. And it's like, well, what's the result? The result is increased amount of power in the hands of the few who like to meet in secret, as we see at Bilderberg. Now, I'm really glad that this is a cause that is growing, that people are paying more attention to this. I'm really excited to be going myself. But, I do like to put this in perspective, and I don't think that it's the Bilderberg group meeting that's the problem. And I think in a ways a lot of people get fixated on the meeting itself. They lose sight of how the superclass comes to exist in the first place. Because the problem isn't that social leaders come together and have secret meetings. That's going to happen. People should be allowed to meet in secret. People should be able to communicate privately. I don't have a problem with that. And I don't really believe that the New World Order is as unified as some people would suggest. I really don't think that there is a master plan. And I would caution people, and I can tell you this from my experience as a former government employee, having served in the Marines, never attribute to conspiracy what can be adequately explained by incompetence. And if anything, I think what we should be doing at Bilderberg is exposing them as the beneficiaries of exploitation, the beneficiaries of bad government policies, or rather good, effective government policies, good at keeping the sheeple poor and exploited and dumbed down and unable to challenge their masters. And the fact that they come together really is no surprise. I don't think that, there's some great conspiracy that comes out of this, but the problem is that we allow the superclass to exist in the first place, that we give up our freedoms, and when we allow our freedoms to be aggregated on such large scales as they are under national governments these days, we create incredible opportunities for great power to be concentrated in the hands of the few. And yes, they do come together and they do conspire, and to think that they don't conspire is more of a ridiculous theory than any conspiracy theory out there. But I'm going to be going there. I'm going to be there on the first day. I'm really excited to see what the protesters are going to be able to accomplish in terms of bringing mainstream media exposure to this, because I would like to see Bilderberg become a regular talking point, a regular fixture in the modern political dialogue. I think people need to know that the superclass exists, and if the best and most convenient way to get them all in one place to shoot all the fish in a barrel is when they come together for Bilderberg, then great. But, keep in mind also, Bilderberg is the European North American summit of the superclass, whereas there's a superclass in China and throughout the rest of Asia and the rest of the world, and they have the same problems. The dynamics of statism is, statism is a global paradigm, and the ills of statism are global phenomenon. So in a way, it might be the Bilderberg group as a whole doing us favors by, at least in the small, immediate, short term, protecting us from whatever the Asian equivalent of the Bilderberg group is. But I'm really glad that we're able to raise attention about it now, and that the group isn't really able to meet in secret like they did in, 1954, the first meeting when we didn't have the internet, we didn't have mass communications, we didn't have the kind of scrutiny that we're able to bring to an event like this. And this is a great example of independent media changing the conversation the way that the mainstream never would if it wasn't for the internet.
Yeah, totally. Because, the whole thing about the Bilderberg group is that, they've been meeting since 1954, of course. And I think you're totally right about that, Kokesh, is that you got the top people in business, government, finance, all these different realms coming together, meeting together, and it does serve a purpose. They are definitely laying out, hey, here's what I've done to get the top of my game in this field. Here's what I've done to get the top of my game in this field. So you got all these minds coming together, the ones that have gone to the top in what, people see as, quote, a free market, when really it's controlled, because since around 1954, I'd say, since really 1913, we've seen that the American capitalist system has been more and more so controlled by a group of ruling elite. I mean, the Rockefellers, who were the major corporatists of their time, seek to have monopolies over the entire economy. And actually, the founding Rockefeller guy said that competition is sin. So these are the guys attending Bilderberg every year. They want to rule the world just as much as Hitler wanted to, or as the kings and the queens back in the Middle Ages. So, I mean, and I thought you brought up a great point here, is we're seeing the elite sectors of all areas of the world coming together during this summit. I mean,
you always have Iran's president calling for a new world order. You got Brazil's president calling for a new world order. You have everybody calling for their version of a new world order.
Yeah, and then in 2011, you actually had the first time that Chinese officials, I mean, you had the vice minister of foreign affairs and a major professor at Beijing University, which is the biggest university in China.
And what's his name?
And his name is Huang Yiping.
I was trying to make you pronounce it.
It worked. But that's the thing. Like, we're seeing now is that
your point was that he attended Bilderberg in 2011.
Yeah, and this is what we're seeing is that in 2011 you had the major. I think this all really goes back to your amendment you're pushing through, and we got a few minutes, so I'm gonna let you finish up on this topic. But you have the major pushes for controlling the internet going through at the beginning of 2012, and we as activists studying Bilderberg called this back in summer of 2011 when they're meeting in St. Moritz, because you had the CEO of Google, you had Facebook, you had U.S. Cybercom. We knew they were going to come to the angle of, we need cybersecurity, we need to crack down on copyright infringement, and that's exactly what happened. So, Adam Kokesh of Adam vs. Man, we got about a minute and a half left with you. This is going to round up the last segment of the show. Your last comments on the fact of Bilderberg, internet censorship, and your amendment, all tying it together, man.
You know what? Screw all that. I got a minute. I'm going to talk about how beautiful life is and how wonderful the libertarian message is in waking people up and bringing people to the light and allowing them to live more empowered, freer lives that allow them to enjoy the beauty of every waking moment on this planet and enjoy life like never before, because what makes you free is the understanding that you are free, that government is an illusion, that it is a construct, that it is something that is intended to keep you a slave to your own thoughts and keep you from expressing the full, true joy of being a free, beautiful, independent human being with certain inalienable rights and enjoying those rights. And that's really what this movement is all about, and that's why we call it the Revolution. So on that note, check out Adam vs. the Man for more. Support the Information Freedom Amendment, and I'll see you at Occupy Bilderberg.
Absolutely. We see there. First day. The first day.
Outro, because I gotta agree with that. It is.
Yeah, totally. First day of Occupy Bilderberg starts May 31st. Everybody needs to be there. Check out the our guests' websites that we had on tonight. Adam of AdamVersusTheMan.com, Aaron Dykes of Infowars.com. Both really great alternative news, putting out amazing, breaking down what is really going on in the world right now, breaking down the mainstream illusion. Guys, you got 10 seconds. What do you want to say?
Definitely, you got to remember to live your life. You can't get active, but enjoy the beauty of the world.
Share our site, Occupy